So first, you want to talk about, why is DEI training essential? Why should you care about it? Why does it even need to be in my organization? So first, it's going to raise awareness of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so this training enables your employees to become more comfortable with DEI concepts. It helps them to understand what it is and why we want them to really care about it. And so when employees are more familiar with DEI concepts, they can begin to identify how these concepts can show up in real world situations, and also how they show up within the workplace. And also, you want your employees to be encouraged to understand different perspectives that people bring and the comfort levels of others. And we want them to think about how their actions could unintentionally cause offense to others. And we also want them to start thinking about, how can my actions impact others? How can I create a good work environment so that people don't feel like they are being discriminated against? Training can also help prevent kind of discrimination and harassment in the workplace. You don't want to be known as the workplace that has all the discrimination and harassment claims, or kind of known as the workplace that people don't want to work there because there's just kind of a lack of overall inclusivity. And then successful diversity training will get your employees in the habits of thinking about inclusion and how they can take actions that make the workplace more inclusive for everyone. We want people to start thinking about, how can I make sure that my coworkers, how can I make sure that the team that I work on feels included within our organization? And how can I make sure that that everyone feels like they're a part of making this organization successful? There's been so much research out there that says that diverse teams have a distinct advantage when it comes to decision making, because it helps you bring a broader perspective on the problem or opportunities that your organization has. You don't want a whole bunch of people that think just like you. We want to be able to bring in diverse perspectives, but we also want people to feel included, and we want them to feel like they can bring these diverse perspectives to work. Lastly, diverse teams can identify more options for problem solving, reducing biases, and increasing accountability. And this is helpful because that can help you drive that collaboration and innovation in the workplace. And as we know, collaboration and innovation is very important in our workplace, as everything is constantly changing. What is effective diversity, equity, inclusion training? How do we make sure that once we implement this, or as we're thinking about creating that plan, how do we make sure it's effective? So of course, the most important is you have to get support from all levels of your organization. So before you begin any serious diversity training effort, you need to make sure you have support from top management or your senior leadership. We want them to be able to make sure they're holding employees accountable, making sure they're actually taking those trainings, making sure they're really involved and really showing employees that I'm all in, because we understand in most cases that leadership really does drive the culture and drives a lot of the organization. And let's just be really honest, upper management has the money. So they have the financial resources that you need to put these plans into place. So as you're looking for those resources, it takes money to make that happen. So once you have your senior leadership involved and all in, they will be a little bit more willing to add you into the budget and make sure you have those financial resources that you need. But this is not an effort that is only senior leadership. Everyone has to play a part. Everyone has to be involved in this initiative to make sure it's successful. This is a group effort from everybody within the organization. And so you want to also be clear about your training goals. I don't know about you, but I don't like to take training where I don't understand what I'm supposed to learn from it. So really understanding the goals of your organization in regards to what you want to do with diversity, equity, inclusion is essential, so that we can also communicate that well through the training. So all employees understand this is what we need to learn from this training, and then what we need to do after we take that training. And then different people in workplaces require different types of trainings and materials. So make sure when you're doing that research, whether you decide to create the training in-house, or if you decide to utilize the many resources available in the many training resources that are out there, make sure it makes sense for your organization. Make sure you truly understand what your organization needs, and make sure it's adaptable and that it makes sense. And then DEI training is long-term. So this is not a one and done solution. You can't just put out one training We follow up and that's it. It has to stay on the forefront. So as you're thinking about kind of that plan, think about the communication that goes along with that. How do we keep this at the forefront of everyone's mind? How do we make sure that it's a constant theme within our organization so that people don't feel like, oh, I just took this training and that's all there is to it. We need to make sure it's ingrained within the organization. And then obviously the most important thing with any training or any program or initiative that we put within the organization, it needs to be constantly evaluated.